Hi, my name is Rob Jefferis. I am an airline pilot for a major airline here in the United States, and this is my recount of my recollection of September 11th, 2001. Today, I am an international airline pilot flying a Boeing 757, Boeing 767 around, but in 2001, I was an 18-year-old freshman in my first semester at Florida Tech in Melbourne, Florida. I remember that morning, it was a Tuesday morning, and on Tuesdays was my day for flight training, and with that in mind, I didn't have any early classes, so I got to sleep in. And so I was rather upset when the guy across the hall from me in the dorms came over and started banging on my door pretty early in the morning and woke me up because I was supposed to be able to sleep in that day. But anyway, I got out of bed, and Adam told me, hey, turn on the TV, turn on the TV. So I did, and I got my first glimpse of what was going on. And I kind of feel sick to the stomach just thinking about that. But you could see at the time one World Trade Center tower with smoke billowing out of it, and the headline across the bottom of the screen was, airplane hits World Trade Center tower. And immediately I figured, somebody in a Cessna or a Piper or something like that must have done it. Accidents happen. It's not the first time the Empire State Building got hit in World War II by a B-17. Not a good thing, but certainly not, a life-altering event. As things started to go on, rumors started to come out that the news started reporting that this was actually an airliner, and reports coming in that this was some sort of big airplane, and that's when it really, started to hit that this was a big event. This was not just something small news event. This was a major accident, and anytime there's an airline accident, that's obviously a dreadful thing. Probably a couple hundred people lost their lives. And so I started watching because this was an airline accident, and I was studying to become an airline pilot. So I went ahead and I called my mom. I remember, I don't know why, but at the time I just felt like I needed to. And this was before most people had cell phones. So I called the house phone and talked to her and let her know what was going on because she had no idea. I told her, turn on the news, and so she did. And eventually, after maybe 20 minutes of sitting in my room alone in my dorm room, I decided that I wanted to be around friends. So I went over to the Student Union building where I was a pledge for my fraternity. I was a candidate member of Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity at the time, and I wanted to be surrounded by people that I knew and my friends. So we had a table there at the Student Union building that we always sat at. So I went and kind of joined them at the table, and we all watched on the big screen. We're watching the news. And more people just drifted in as time went on. And then I would say about 20 minutes after I got there, we watched live as the second tower got hit. And that was a moment where I don't think I was able to process immediately what was going on and know how bad it was going to be, but I knew that this entire thing just got a whole lot worse. I just watched live an airplane that looked like it was a pretty big airliner smash into a building. There was another building behind it that was on fire that had also gotten hit. This was not an isolated airline crash. This was obviously something much more sinister. At the time, we had no idea what or how, but rumors really started to flow within the news media. Air traffic control was saying there was 12 or 13 planes they thought that might be hijacked at the time. There was rumors of a 747 that they couldn't get a hold of that they thought might be also hijacked. When people were starting to realize slowly, it took time to process that these were planes that were being deliberately flown into landmarks. We started hearing rumors that the White House had been attacked, that the Capitol building had been blown up, that the Pentagon had been hit, that planes had been flown into buildings in Chicago and LA and Miami. It sounds really bad now to say this, what I'm about to say, but looking back, it's true. Looking back and seeing that it was 4 airplanes and about 3,000 people that lost their lives, I won't say I'm grateful, obviously, but at the time that it was happening live, we thought it was so much worse because the rumors out there were just unreal. This is before cell phones. People couldn't call anybody for the most part. You were relying totally on what the media was reporting. And at the time, they were reporting that this was There were rumors of this being a nationwide attack on infrastructure all over the place. Um, we started getting pictures in from the Pentagon and seeing the smoke rising from that. There were rumors of a plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, which we later found out was Flight 93. Um, the table next to my fraternities was the table that was always used by the ROTC Army kids, and they were all there, and you could see the horror on their faces as I think they quickly realized that they had signed up to be ROTC students in a peacetime army, and that had changed in the matter of, one morning, 1 hour. A nation that had been at peace for the better part of a decade, really since the end of the Gulf War. I know it's hard to remember that now, considering that we've been at pretty much constant war since 9/11. But at the time this happened, we'd been a nation that was at peace for almost a decade. And so the realization that they had just signed up for not just a free education and wearing some boots, but for war, was really hitting hard. And there was another guy that walked through and started asking every guy in the cafeteria, whether or not they had their selective service card with them, because we're going to war, boys, and the draft is coming, and we're all like 18, 19, 20 years old. We're all getting drafted. We're all going to war. Obviously, looking back, it was hyperbole and it was an overreaction, but at the time it was scary. It really was. This was kind of my generation's Alamo or Pearl Harbor, I suppose. And I was watching my chosen career change before my eyes. There were several people that I started school with who, in the aftermath of 9/11, either changed majors or dropped out of school completely, because the idea of becoming an airline pilot, becoming a flight crew, it changed it all. It changed the entire career, both from a physical standpoint. The procedures have changed and the work rules have changed. Everything's changed, but just from a security standpoint, people didn't feel safe for quite a while, really, going back into the skies. The campus, the funny thing is my college never, I don't think they ever officially canceled classes on 9/11. They canceled classes the day after, but nobody went. Everybody was in the student union building just watching TV. Like all 3,000 undergraduates at our college were pretty much all gathered around one or two big screen TVs here watching. But the thing that I think is hardest to understand for somebody that wasn't there was the fear. And the fear came from the unknown. The fear came from the rumors, from the innuendo, from not knowing when it would end. The entire day, the entire attack really only took a couple hours, but we didn't know that. Up until 4 or 5, 6 o'clock that night, there were still rumors going of, there's another airplane that they're saying they're seeing on the radar and they don't know who it is or where it's going. There's rumors of a suspicious person reported at here or there or somewhere else. Up until really into that evening, we really thought that the attack might still be ongoing. We didn't know how bad it was. We didn't have any idea. We knew that tens of thousands of people worked at the World Trade Center. We had no idea what the toll was. Partway through the day, the media's flashing up the possibilities that when the World Trade Centers fell, and we watched that live. We watched both towers fall live. That we could be looking at death tolls in the 20, 30, 40, 50,000. The unknown was the worst part, the fear. And it wasn't really until 2 or 3 days later that really even began to subside. I did witness in the aftermath. We had a lot of students from my university from overseas, and a lot of them were from the Middle East. We had a lot of engineering students from Saudi Arabia, from Kuwait, from all over. And unfortunately, I did witness firsthand some of the Islamophobia that in the immediate aftermath occurred. People who had nothing to do with this, people who were good people who were treated very poorly solely because of their nationality, their ethnicity, their religion. But on the other hand, I also saw in the immediate aftermath, the thing we talked about with 9/12 was the good side of people, the American flags everywhere, the joint Congress, Democrats, Republicans, joining hands and singing "God Bless America" on the Capitol steps. And as horrible as 9/11 was, the 6 months or 8 months that followed it were actually just a beautiful time in America. The recovery, we really came together as a nation in a way that I have never seen before, and unfortunately I've never seen since. So I'm sorry that was a little bit long-winded, but that is, to the best of my recollection, my account of September 11th, 2001. Thank you very much.